Welcome everyone to the session of the Marlborough Book Festival 2019 on this glorious, beautiful Marlborough day. We're so lucky. And I just want to say thank you so much to Cloudy Bay for giving us this wonderful setting to have this session in. It's just and I think it really actually personifies simple. You know, isn't it such a beautiful, simple aesthetic, so it's lovely. So just to let you know, I'll be talking with Eleanor for about 45 minutes, and approximately 15 minutes from the end there'll be time for some questions. And as Kit mentioned, there'll be an opportunity to buy a book and get it signed. I would just ask if you could stay in your chairs while Eleanor proceeds downstairs, and we can all meet up with her in the tasting room. So it is my great pleasure to welcome Eleanor Ozich to Marlborough and the Book Festival. Eleanor is a best-selling author and photographer and mother to 3 young children. Since starting a blog 7 years ago, she has built a huge following of loyal readers who look forward to her daily musings, recipes, and ideas for living a less complicated life. She has published 3 cookbooks and a lifestyle guide, The Art of Simple, contributes to various publications including Delicious, Taste, Homestyle, and a weekly column for Viva in the New Zealand Herald. Her unique approach to writing and photography showcases her love of all things simple in a natural and down-to-earth way. Today we are talking about this beautiful book, The Art of Simple. Eleanor, I've thoroughly enjoyed getting to know this book. It is just a great book to leave on a coffee table and dive in and out of. So thank you very much for writing it and coming to talking to us today.
Thank you. I'm so happy to be here.
So let's just start with what motivated you to start to live a simpler life?
So I guess for me, for those who know a little bit about my journey, I guess I'll just share a bit about how it all started. So I started writing a blog about 7 years ago, and back then our daughter had a lot of health issues. And so for me, it was really just a place to kind of share our journey, really. And it started off just posting recipes on my Facebook page. I'm definitely not a trained cook, or I didn't know how to cook back then. And it just took off really, really quickly. So a friend of mine was like, oh, you've got to start up a Facebook group and start posting your recipes on there in a blog. And I was like, okay, why not? And back then I kind of didn't really put too much thought into it. And so I just started posting these recipes and sharing them, and also just sharing ideas for a more holistic sort of lifestyle. And it just took off really quickly. Got, I think it was 3 publishers wanting to work with me to do a book within sort of the first couple of months that I started writing the blog. So it just, at the time I was like, wow, what's going on? Took off really quickly, and then after that I started writing my second book, and at that time also was really craving community. So I kind of become really, I really enjoyed, writing the recipes and connecting with people online, but I just was craving to actually meet with more people in real life and to work with other people as well. So a friend of mine, Hannah Horton, we started a cafe together called Mondays, and it was sort of something I've always wanted to do. I've always wanted to open up a cafe. So I actually grew up above a restaurant. My parents owned a restaurant as a kid, and so I've always wanted to open a cafe. Opened the cafe, and then all of a sudden I sort of just found myself in this season of life that was very busy, very, very busy. I had 2 kids at that time. I felt very stressed out and quite overwhelmed really easily. Just generally felt as though I wasn't kind of keeping up day to day with just, daily tasks and the things that I was doing. And I sort of had this moment of being like, what am I doing? I love my work, but all of a sudden it wasn't enjoyable anymore. And so I just, I think one day I just had this moment where I was like, I've just got to simplify. And actually that was just after I found out that I was pregnant with my 3rd. So that was definitely a moment of being like, okay, really you've got to do something about this. You've got to slow down. So at that time decided to move on from the cafe, and my friend continued running the cafe and I stepped away. We also bought a house at that time, so out of central Auckland, and moved to the outskirts of Auckland in a beautiful spot in Titirangi, which is surrounded by bush. So I think that was really the catalyst for this, really slowing down and simplifying. And at this time I actually truthfully did not feel like cooking. Even though cooking was my thing, I had really lost my passion for cooking because of just the pace of life that I was sort of running at. So I guess that's, what really inspired The Art of Simple. And once again, it was a new season of my life, and I just felt like I wanted to write about it. So, yeah.
Yeah, because I was going to ask you, obviously to make yourself less busy, you had to cut things out of your life.
Yes.
And was it a difficult process for you, like that decision to back out of Mondays? How difficult was that for you to make those sort of decisions?
Yeah, very, very difficult, especially because it was something that I still loved. But I guess sometimes you do have to just be kind of ruthless and be like, hold on a second, what can I actually realistically cut out here?
How did you decide what to keep and what to cut out? What was it that helped you with that decision?
I think my husband played a big part of that too. He was like, I think you got to cut the cafe. I was like, okay. Good thing he's not here right now.
He didn't say, look, I'm sorry, it's the kids.
Yes.
I'm sorry, we've just got, we've got to get rid of the kids.
Yeah.
So was that enough, really? Just the letting go of Mondays was enough to create that sort of...
The first step anyway. Yeah.
And as you said, it wasn't that difficult to give up the food at that point because you just weren't enjoying it, As I was reading the intro to the book, what first came to me was that living simply was perhaps about having less things. That was what my first thought was. But were you also talking about sort of that letting go of striving for more money, more achievements, more self-worth?
Yeah,
Did that come
absolutely.
Into that?
Well, I guess I had sort of found myself on this treadmill where it was almost like chasing things non-stop. It was like you said, chasing more success, feeling as though I had to achieve certain things or I had to be this kind of busy person to be successful as well.
Yeah.
So definitely realising that that's definitely not the case, and I can still be successful and I can still be good at what I'm doing, but to do that I have to slow down and simplify, for sure.
Well, I guess it's also about what our idea of success is. It doesn't necessarily need to be more money, does it?
Yeah.
You're clearly a very successful mother as well. You know what I mean? So, and I loved, you said in the book, simple living isn't about determining how little we can live with, but celebrating what we can't live without. So what were some of those things for you?
Well, obviously number one is family. So I definitely found that I wasn't finding the time to just hang out with my kids in the afternoons. It was always like this hectic rush with daycare and after-school programs and things like that, and I always felt guilty about that. So making sure that I was actually present with my kids and not on my phone kind of, trying to answer emails and to do all of that. So, number one, family, and spending time with my husband as well, of course. And then, obviously food was a big one for me. Like, food is so important to me. I love cooking. It really is, I would say, like 1/3 of my life is, it's me thinking about what I'm cooking, what I'm eating, I love food, clearly. And I felt really sad that I had lost the passion for that, and I kind of, so I really wanted to find that passion for cooking again.
Did it pretty quickly come back?
It took a little while, but it did come back. But I had to allow myself the space and the time as well.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, and I guess cooking in a cafe is way different from, being able to cook for your family or...
Oh, absolutely. Yeah.
And you don't get to eat it so much yourself, do you?
Yeah, and even when you're making the same thing over and over as well, you don't want to eat it,
Yeah. In the book, you write, morning self-care is a beautiful way to fill your cup and allows good feelings to overflow into the rest of your day. Taking the time to start the day well can also have a profound impact on the mindset we possess, the experiences we attract, and the energy we give out to others, which I think is so true. What is your current morning ritual?
So for me, I do love to get up in the mornings before my kids wake up, just to allow that little bit of time for myself, even if that's just having a cup of tea. I love to have a cup of tea in bed, ideally, if I can. That's like my ultimate way to start the day. And I also love, just getting up and being able to have like a little bit of space and time to do some stretching or yoga as well, or going for a walk in the morning. It's those little simple things that really make a difference. And then
So you like to move your body?
Yeah, I love to move my body. Yeah. I also, I've more recently, just in the last kind of 6 months, started doing a breathing exercise, which I really love as well. It sounds a bit zany, but if anyone here has heard of Wim Hof, it's a breathing exercise that you can do that really... I'm not going to show you guys how it works right now, but look it up on Google or on YouTube. But it really helps to oxygenate the body and give you a lot of energy. And it only takes about 3 to 5 minutes to do, depending on how many times you do it. And it just kind of sets me up for the day, makes me feel really clear-minded and gives me a lot of energy. So, that's another thing that I like to do. And if I don't have the time in the morning to do that, because let's face it, every morning is different, especially with young kids, I'll just allow myself time later in the day to to kind of fit that in, you know?
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Do you meditate at all, or
So
you might
after,
think of as
actually, well,
meditation?
I sort of do my own version of it, I suppose. After I do my breathing exercise, I do like to take about 5 minutes just to really sit with myself and to really, really think about what I love in my life. I think something, you know, when you're really busy and when you're striving for more and when you're sort of on that treadmill, you know, that sort of never stops, you're really not... you're not in the moment and you're not thinking about what you already have in your life, what you are already so grateful for, and you don't appreciate those things if you don't allow yourself the time to do that. So that's definitely a big part of
Yeah,
what
I think
like to do as
gratitude
well.
is a great practice, isn't it?
Yeah,
It can
is.
change your thinking in an instant. Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, and tell us about because you do also have a particular, if it's not tea, what else are you drinking in the morning these days?
Well, I like to have my tea to begin with, and then after about half an hour or so after I've got up, I often don't actually have breakfast. I have a coffee called Bulletproof coffee. I don't know if anyone here has tried that before. It sounds a bit crazy, but it's basically just brewed black coffee, and then I blend that with coconut oil and butter, and it's sort of like a creamy latte. Sounds bizarre, right? But it actually tastes delicious, and it's sort of like a form of intermittent fasting. So it makes you just feel like you've got a lot of energy, really good for your digestion, makes you feel really clear-headed as well. So.
Nice.
Yeah.
That sounds like a great way to start the day, actually.
Yeah, it is. It is.
Nice mix of things there. So you have got some more things in the Art is Simple about some lovely ideas of how to start your day.
Yeah.
And I must admit, after reading that first chapter, and I was feeling quite blissed out, inspired by the time I'd finished reading the lovely Wake chapter, you know, and there's delicious breakfast recipes in here as well, and, you know, the slowness of tea, morning pages. I'm like, oh. Then I got to the second chapter, Simplify, and I must admit, at this point, I did get a slight gnawing unease in the pit of my stomach because I realised this chapter was going to include decluttering. And I was sitting in my house, and there was junk behind cupboards sort of talking at me. I thought, oh. And we've been in our house for anyone who knows me, we've been in our house for 20 years now, and I'm not naturally inclined to let go of things. And the thought of decluttering just really overwhelms me, so I just don't really start. Or I start, but, you know. So I just wonder what tips you'd have for people like me.
Yeah. I think just try not to be overwhelmed, and just start with one little area at a time and don't feel like you have to do everything. You know, if you have an area in your home where you have lots of things that actually do bring you lots of joy and you love that, like that's so fine. You don't have to, you know, we all have our own version of kind of decluttering or, you know, having the things in our homes that we love and that bring us joy.
Yeah.
And it doesn't have to be this, you know, perfect Pinterest picture of this minimal house, you know what I mean?
Yeah, that's sort of a stylistic thing as well.
Yeah,
isn't it?
totally.
Some people are more eclectic
Yes.
in their decorating style.
Yeah, I guess it's just choosing little areas at a time, and you have to be in a good mood when you're doing it as well. Like you can't kind of attack an area in your home when you're frustrated or angry. You know, it's like definitely not the best time to do it. So
Be a room.
Yeah, do a little bit at a time. Yeah.
Do you have a bit of a system too for when you come to that area and trying to sort out what?
Yeah, well, for me personally, I've kind of got to the point where, like, I feel calm and I feel really clear-headed when, you know, when my house does feel tidy and when it feels as though I've only got the things in my home that I need. And I also find it just makes life so much easier, especially with young kids trying to tidy up all the time. Like if I do just have sort of the bare minimum of what we need, that just, it makes life easier. Oh, sorry, I've gone a bit off track here. What was the question again?
I think you've got a system. You mentioned a system here of sort of useful, beautiful, or meaningful. Is that kind of what you use as your...
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
And it also helps to just to kind of just do a little bit daily, you know?
Yeah.
Like if you see an area that's kind of building up clutter, and gosh, that happens to me all the time. You know, I have like my drawer full of my clutter drawer. Everyone has one. But every now and then I'm like, okay, I'm just going to, you know, just do a little bit each day, and it just, it tends to help.
Right.
Yeah.
Start that tomorrow. And I also wondered, because it dawned on me as well as I was thinking about this, that actually probably I don't let go of things emotionally or mentally that easily either.
Yeah.
Did you think through the process of physically letting go of things, it also helps with that bigger area of letting go in general,
Yeah.
emotional, mental. Is that something that you experienced, or?
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
And that's something that you can work on separately as well. Like that's, I'm really into sort of, I do a lot of mindset work, and I've been to quite a few Tony Robbins conferences. I don't know if anyone here likes Tony Robbins or not. But we did this really amazing exercise with him actually, and it was really thinking about, the sort of baggage, the emotional baggage, the things in your past that, I think us as humans, we have a tendency to hold on to emotional baggage sort of as our story. They kind of make that particular thing that happened to us in the past makes us, who we are today. And that can be a beautiful thing, but it can also, it can be really exhausting and it can be draining, especially if you're holding on to that as your story and kind of replaying it all the time, you know?
Yeah.
So for me, I remember we did this exercise and, he sort of, I'll only touch on it quickly, but, he made us really think about that moment in our lives that, has kind of been holding us back, or that has been really negative or difficult, that period in our lives, whatever it might have been, and to thank it and to envision this kind of like beautiful light around it, and then just watch it float away and be grateful for that thing happening in your life,
Yeah.
So I think even if you sort of can change your thoughts around that, whatever emotional baggage is holding you back, it can really help you to move forward and just to really focus on what you have in your life now that you're, that you love.
Yeah. I love that philosophy. I did ask you this yesterday, but does Simplify apply to your recipe books? Did you simplify recipe books? Do you have a minimal thing of recipe books, or do you?
Yes, and actually I think that's probably why my recipes were really resonating with people in the early years when I first started writing my blog, because for me, as soon as I see a recipe that's got a big list of ingredients or got really complicated methods, I'm just like, no way. It has to be really simple for me as well in terms of cooking. So, absolutely.
And what, also I'm talking about in terms of the recipe books that you own of other people's.
Yeah.
So,
right. Sorry, I get you.
Have you got?
No, actually, the books in my home are the one exception in terms of
I think
owning a lot.
A lot of us here might agree with that. I remember Marie Kondo saying, I think one of the first things was books. I thought, well, I'm not doing that.
Yeah.
And someone also said to me that actually, that big pile of books that you might have by your bed, or piles.
Yeah.
That actually that's a good thing.
Yes.
That's not a bad thing for you to have.
No,
those.
I have many
that.
cookbooks.
Yeah.
I think I've got about 60 cookbooks or something. And actually we have the piles of books next to our bed as well.
Yeah.
So my husband and I always say, like, as soon as we find our new house, we want to just get like an entire wall that's a bookshelf,
Oh, nice.
just so we don't have piles of books all around the house. But for some reason, I guess it's because they bring me so much joy, right? When I look at them, they don't make me feel cluttered, or they don't bother me.
You're right. And are there any particular recipe books that you keep going back to?
Yes, so Jamie Oliver. I just love Jamie Oliver. And Nigel Slater as well is a personal favourite. If you guys haven't read Nigel Slater's work before, his recipes are, very homely, comforting, quite rich, rich, flavourful food, and also not too difficult to make. But his style of food writing is, it's almost like a novel. Like when you're reading through his books, his stories about food, they're just mind-blowing. It kind of makes you see a whole new world about, one particular vegetable. Like he'll talk about a vegetable for like 4 pages straight,
Oh, wow.
So, he's pretty amazing.
And I also read that your wardrobe, which every time I've seen you has been beautiful, only has 12 to 15 items in it.
Yeah.
Which, again, a lot. I've got a lot of things to try to work towards here. So, how does your philosophy of simple apply to your
wardrobe?
clothes?
Yeah. Well, for me, I really love to be mindful about what I buy. For one, so everything that comes into our home, I think I just have so much more love and appreciation for an item if I've really thought about it first and made sure it's actually something that I'm going to use or something that's practical. And this, of course, makes your, simplifying in your home easier once you kind of get into that mindset, because you don't just buy things without thinking about it on a whim and then end up bringing it home and never using it again, So, and of course, that relates to my wardrobe as well. So when I buy something, I just make sure that it's going to work with everything else in my wardrobe, and then I'm actually going to wear it over and over. And I tend to do that with items too. When I buy something, this winter I've kind of brought 3 beautiful winter items to wear, and I can just sort of wear them over and over with what else I've got in there, and wear an item until it actually starts falling apart, as opposed to it just sort of sitting there and dreaming, one day I'll wear that dress, or.
And so you would buy good quality items of clothing.
Yeah. And actually, I really love to wear beautiful quality items that make me feel really good every single day.
Yeah.
I don't really see the point in sort of saving a beautiful dress for a special occasion. Why not celebrate every day and wear something that makes you feel good every day?
Yeah.
Yeah.
And it's so much better for the planet.
Yes, absolutely.
In the book, you say that when you've learned to live with less, you end up with so much more. That's quite a big, encompassing statement, isn't it?
Mm-hmm.
I just wonder if you could tell us what that means for you.
So I think that really applies to everything. So, when you live with less things in your home, and, when you have less sort of stress and less, all of those things that kind of clutter up your day, you have more time to do what you actually love. You have more time to spend with your family. You have more time to just cook in the kitchen without pressures. I think, it's really about just simplifying and letting go of all the things that you don't actually love to do or that don't bring you joy, so that you can really appreciate those little, beautiful moments throughout the day that you might have not, that you might have missed otherwise. Yeah.
So more joy.
Yeah,
really,
more joy.
For
Yeah.
you. Yeah. Have you noticed that in your kids as well with the simplifying?
Yeah, absolutely. Like even with them, I. At the moment, we don't have them booked into anything after school. They don't really do any extra activities or anything like that. And that's for me as well, because I haven't wanted to have that extra stress. But also for them, I just want to pick them up and hang out with them after school and not feel as though we're kind of carting from one thing to the other. So, it really does apply to almost everything in our lives. Yeah.
I was also going to talk a little bit about cleanse, because the book also includes a collection of simple, natural cleaning recipes for your body, laundry and home. I mentioned this again yesterday, that when I told my husband I was going to make our own hand soap and cleaning products, he asked, did I really have time for that? And I thought, what would you say to him and others that, because I guess lots of people have that thought, where do we find the time? What would you say to people to try to persuade them that they do have the time?
I think that when you actually make something, especially if you follow one of my recipes in particular, you'll see that they're very, very simple and easy and straightforward, and will literally take you 30 seconds to make like a beautiful spray and wipe that you'll use, or everything is very simple. So, and also very, when you're making something yourself as well, not only does it take, only a minute or two to make, but also exactly what's in it. You're removing just that, once again, things like, commercial cleaners and all of those things that you'd usually buy from the supermarket that are actually just adding clutter to your life. And just making your own simple, beautiful homemade versions that do bring you like a sense of joy, I guess. It sounds ridiculous, but I actually love cleaning. I love talking about cleaning. I know it's a really unsexy topic, but the act of making my own cleaners, it's such a simple thing to me, but it really brings me a lot of joy as well. So. Yeah. Yeah,
well, it must be quite satisfying.
Yeah, it is. And it's so much cheaper and better for the environment. So for me, it just makes sense,
Yeah, it's just lots of pluses, isn't there? And where did you get the ideas for the cleaning recipes from? Are they from old? Because I guess, a long time ago, we didn't have lots of chemicals in our cleaning. We probably used baking soda and things. Where did you find your recipes? Yeah,
so I guess a lot of them are sort of versions that I've probably adapted from online recipes, or just ones that I've kind of made. When I'm making a recipe, I don't tend to go out and buy ingredients. I love to just sort of work with what I've got at home a lot of the time, and so a lot of the recipes are just sort of a bit of a mismatch of what I've got at home when I created it. So,
do you mean for the food or more for the...
For both, for cleaning, both. And that's why you'll find the recipes use really basic things like baking soda, really basic ingredients, vinegar, nothing fancy.
While we're talking about that, the baking soda and vinegar, because I really love... Do you think you could tell us about your toilet cleaner? It's a really sexy topic. But because I really still love the scientific experiment feel about it, and I actually thought, wow, I could actually get my son cleaning the toilets with this. So how do you...
So when Charlotte and I met in Auckland a few weeks ago to chat about just what we were going to talk about here today, we got really excited about talking about cleaning, of course. And and I started talking about how I clean my toilet. And how I do that is I love to just sprinkle baking soda in the base of it, Put a few drops of essential oils. So, essential oils are a really beautiful ingredient to have at home, or something, like a natural tool that you can use to help with your cleaning. So, in most cases, they're antibacterial, antiviral, and antifungal. And so putting a few drops of essential oil in the toilet as well really helps. And then pour a little bit of vinegar, and it just kind of fizzes like crazy. You might have done that science experiment at school
The volcano
when you were a kid. And then just leave it for a bit, and then give it a good scrub up after about half an hour. And honestly, it's like the best toilet cleaner you'll ever use. So simple. Smells amazing.
Wow.
Yep.
That's great. I love it. So there's a bunch of recipes in here for cleansing and also for skincare.
Yeah.
Yeah. So how have you found that your skin's enjoying the cleansing products that you're making and the moisturising?
So I used to spend a lot of money actually on really beautiful natural skincare products, and then I of course started kind of dabbling and trying to make my own, and now all I use is just a really simple face oil, and it's honestly so simple. Just a blend of essential oils, and you can use whatever carrier oil that you want. I just use fractionated coconut oil, and it's honestly that's all I use on my skin. So once again, another area of my life that's just been completely simplified. So I just use it to take off my makeup, put it on again before I go to sleep, and that's it. So yeah, everything. That's all I have in my my bathroom.
That's fabulous.
Yeah.
There was a really lovely chapter in the book called Cherish, and you talk about cherishing and celebrating the small, beautiful moments in our lives, the family meal, a daydream break, the rhythm of cooking. So I just wonder if you might tell me a bit about this chapter, what it means for you, that idea of cherish. What does that mean for you?
It's really about just finding, and for everybody it's different, but finding just those little moments of joy throughout the day, those things that just make you feel happy. So you can probably guess for me it's cooking, actually having the time and space in the kitchen to cook, feeding my family, going for walks. It really is, I feel almost silly here sitting and telling you guys these things, but I'm sure you all have your own things that that really bring you joy, but just allowing that space every single day to make sure you do those things. And it doesn't have to be, it can be one of those things every day, because it just brings you back down to earth,
No, I think sometimes we forget, don't we? We just have a constant to do, and we just kind of cross off going from that to that and that.
Yeah.
And we don't take those little times to talk about, I was just talking about that with reading, for example.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
Yeah.
No, so I think that's lovely. And just what we're talking about, the book's broken up into these wonderful chapters, and there's recipes all the way through it as well. But for every chapter, there'll be like a little... just short little things. So you can really just pick it up and down and delve into it, can't you? So it's a really lovely, fabulous book. So getting on to a bit about the food, honestly, first I just want to ask you a quick question. When you're talking about those cherishing little moments, it had sort of quite a ring of, for me, mindfulness about it.
Yeah.
And I just wondered, did you actually set out to practice mindfulness? Had you learned about that kind of concept, or did that just something naturally evolve out of the simplicity of your lifestyle?
I think it's definitely something that more evolved, although, gosh, mindfulness is everywhere at the moment, isn't it? Every magazine
it's a big
you pick
word,
up,
isn't it? Yeah.
So it's all over the place. So I guess it was probably a bit of the two,
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
In the share section, you've written that sharing food with those I love is what drives my passion for cooking. Love, love, love. I love that too. It's nothing better than cooking food for people and sitting down and eating it with them and talking. So I just thought, I wonder if you could give us an example of a menu that you would cook when you have family and friends around for dinner.
Yeah. So for me, I don't like to be in the kitchen when my friends and family are over. So I'd probably make some sort of really delicious tray bake. I'm a big fan of tray bake dinners because you can kind of just chuck everything in and it only takes 5 minutes, but it's you can still create something really beautiful and delicious. So I'd probably do like some roast chicken with maybe some preserved lemon, some olives, lots of herbs, a bit of white wine, maybe a bit of stock in there, and then bake it in the oven until it's really succulent and juicy and delicious. And I'd probably just serve that with a really basic seasonal salad. I'm a big fan of having lots of dips and things as well at the table, so I'd probably have a few delicious different herby dips and some nice sourdough bread.
Do you make
what else
sourdough?
would I do?
soda?
I haven't been recently, but I did go through a phase where I was making it quite a bit, and I really want to get back into it.
Yeah.
Yep.
And I'll just also mention, so we talked about homemade yesterday at the Bell Tower, and so a lot of those little dips and things that you're talking about are in Eleanor's homemade book, which was her latest book, in a similar sort of format to this. So it's just a lovely thing to have there as well.
Thank you.
You're very welcome. And so the philosophy of simple, how does that apply to your food?
Not doing anything too complicated. Obviously, I do actually enjoy the time and the process of the cooking, but I do like to keep it really simple. So, and just working with seasonal ingredients as well. A big part of my cooking too is it really comes down to where the ingredients are from. I think, if you're going to the supermarket and just getting a whole bunch of things off the shelves, it's just not the same experience. Obviously, there's some things that you've got to get from the supermarket, but for me, going to farmers markets, I actually went to your farmers market this morning, which was lovely. Shopping with local artisans and growers, and really having that relationship with people as well, who grow your food or who create your food, it makes you appreciate it so much more. So that's a big part of my sort of philosophy for cooking as well. Yeah.
Are you ever one of those people that sees a recipe, you probably aren't, and then has a little Asian, some Asian thing that you need to get a massaman paste, and you buy the jar and then never use it again? I don't imagine you ever do that.
No, I don't. No.
Oh, so do you not? So then you wouldn't actually cook that recipe, really? Is that
probably not?
Yeah.
Or I would just adapt it to kind of what I've already got.
Yeah.
I do tend to mostly cook sort of Mediterranean style food. I don't veer too much away from that.
Yeah.
But that's just because that's what I love and what I know. I love eating more ethnic style food, but it's just not my forte. I'm actually terrible at cooking that kind of food. So you'll never find anything like that on my blog. Yep. I think it's probably the influence from my husband as well. He's Croatian, so we love the Mediterranean sort of style food. Yeah.
Oh yeah, and tell us about, so on Sundays, most Sundays, you go and have a lovely dinner with your in-laws.
Yes.
Which again really personifies that idea of share, doesn't it?
Yeah, it does. Yeah, and actually, I come from a very small family, so I just have one sister. And, growing up, we actually used to have dinner every night around the table with all the staff from the kitchen because we lived above the restaurant. But when we did eat together, our family was very small. So when I married my husband, it was quite a new concept to me. He was one of 6 kids and kind of this big Croatian family. And every Sunday they had this big, beautiful lunch that was pretty much like Christmas dinner every Sunday. And I always say I'm not going to overeat, but I always do. But, it'd be crazy amounts of just beautiful, beautiful food, a beautiful roast meat, and just so many dishes that I'm almost like, how are we going to get through all of this food? And it was like this every Sunday, but, somehow we always managed to eat majority of the dishes.
And so was there Croatian food? What sort of?
It's I guess you could say kind of similar to Italian.
Okay.
Yeah, so lots of really rich, delicious sauces, lots of herbs, really lots of very vegetable based as well. So yeah.
And did you spend the rest of the day there as well?
Yeah, we just hang out there the entire day.
So
we kind of have to write Sunday off.
Yeah.
Yep. Which is amazing.
But
I
it's
love
so
that.
lovely, isn't it? Because I was
It
talking to the people staying in my house that we used to do that more, when we were kids, all of us of a certain age. But, you go to church and then you'd have a roast and you'd just perhaps be the family, but we just tend to not, I don't think we do that quite so much anymore. So it was really lovely to hear that you still do.
It's so nice. And I think, I'm just going to continue that tradition, for our family.
Nice.
So I just love that. Yeah.
Yeah.
I love just families coming together over food. Food is kind of the main focal point, and then
Yeah,
yeah,
I know. It's just fabulous, isn't it?
Yeah.
So one of the other chapters is about rest, and rest, sleep, very important to me. So I was quite interested in this one. So I just wonder if you would be happy to share some of the nighttime rituals that you have for you and your family that sort of just helps promote a really good night's sleep.
Yeah, totally. So especially with little ones, I think it's really important to create a beautiful ritual in the sort of even starting in the afternoon. I've found now that I've brought my kind of, the routine forward a little bit. It starts right from when I pick them up from school. We just hang out and spend, a couple of hours together playing, going to the park, things like that. And then always sitting down and doing some reading. And then as soon as it sort of starts to get dark, I love to light candles around the house, or put my diffusers on and put some oils in there, calming oils like lavender or something along those lines. And that really just sets the tone, and everyone knows, okay, now it is time to really slow down. And I love to have an early dinner as well with the kids, and I think that really helps to kind of get them ready for bed, rather than going to bed on a full stomach.
Yeah.
I personally love having a bath. We haven't had a bath for the last year since we moved out of our home in Titirangi, and I'm really missing that.
Oh, no.
I've had 2 baths since I've been here, where I'm staying.
Oh, nice.
Which has been lovely. But, yeah, I love having a bath. I'm not sure what else
No, that sounds lovely. That just sounds lovely.
Yeah.
I was thinking from the outside, your book, your life looks idyllic. When you read the book and there's beautiful pictures of happy kids and, fabulous career, 3 gorgeous children, beautiful house. However, I'm sure there's still days when, the dog, which looks gorgeous, by the way, has strewn a pot plant across the floor, and your kids are sick and you've got deadlines to meet. So I just wondered how your simple lifestyle has helped you deal with those times.
Yeah. I'm definitely not perfect at all, and my life is not perfect. Even just a couple of hours ago, we had a text that our son, Archie, today just pooed all over the floor at church. And that's actually like a total normal thing, that happened to me 2 weeks ago. He pooed all over the floor at Farmers, and I had to deal with it. So, I'm just like everybody. But I think just having a different perspective on things. So even when something like that does happen, you just got to laugh about it,
Is that what you did in Farmers?
Yeah, I laughed about it. my daughter was like mortified. She's like, "Mum, I'm so embarrassed." And I was just like, it's hilarious. And I just kept telling everyone about it for the next 2 days.
So laughing is one of your strategies?
Laughing is definitely one of my strategies. And I guess if you don't have your day jam-packed full of things that you have to be doing, if something does go wrong, you've got that space to, to work through it. And
Yeah. Because I remember reading a blog where you said that you must have been stressed about something that happened, and you'd perhaps, talk to the kids a bit, perhaps shouted a bit more than you would want to. And and then you looked at that, but you said that you can change your thoughts in an instant.
Yeah.
So what is it? How do you do that? What's your particular tool for changing your thoughts in an instant? Because we all have those times.
It's definitely something I've had to work on. I have always been quite a stubborn person. So, if something's gone wrong and I'm really frustrated or angry about it, it's easy to hold on to that kind of frustration and anger, you know what I mean? Because it almost feels comforting. But, we can actually, I think we forget, that we do have that ability to, snap our finger and change the way we feel about something in an instant. And that's actually a tool that I learnt when I went to a Tony Robbins thing as well. But it takes practice, like everything. It just takes practice, It's if something's going wrong, or if you feel as though you're stuck in your life, or something is holding you back, or, we all have those things that we're, constantly frustrated by. But if you do just change your thinking around it, and this even applies to kind of being busy and stressed as well. I think a lot of the time it's not necessarily the things we're actually doing, and it's not necessarily the things that are happening on a day-to-day basis. It's actually just our thoughts around what's happening in our lives. So I think if we can really focus on, take a moment to be like, hold on, I'm going to tune into myself and think about, how am I thinking about this? Is this actually something that's happening in my life that is, I'm sorry, I'm not explaining it very well, but, can I change my thinking about this, as opposed to, because we have no control over what's happening in our lives, do we? We really don't. Well, we do have a certain amount of control, but
not over everything.
Yeah,
no.
But at the end of the day, if we can change our thinking about something, everything changes in an instant.
It's an interesting thing, isn't it? I was reading something about external busyness versus internal busyness.
Yeah.
We can do something about external busyness, like you stopped Mondays, but then we also probably have that internal busyness about, oh my God, I've got so much to do, and it's which you're right, we're just sort of feeding it, aren't we? Really?
Yes, we are.
Yeah. And we also perhaps like to be seen to be busy. You're exactly right.
Well, we feel like we have to be busy.
I know. You know? Which is crazy, isn't it?
Yeah, it's like even when you talk to someone that you haven't seen for ages, it's like, oh, how are you? How have you been? It's like, I've been really busy doing this and that.
Yeah.
But, imagine if you were just like, I'm amazing. Like, I've just been doing nothing.
Yeah,
so you'd be like, what?
I know. It is crazy because we should do nothing more and happy to admit that we...
It's like, even for a week, I went through a week of being really conscious of when people asked me, like, how are you? Instead of just being like, yeah, I'm okay, or yeah, I'm good, being like, I'm amazing. You know, I'm really great. Like, life is amazing. I'm so happy to be alive right now. You know, and people are like, oh, what? You know, and then that can instantly change the way they feel about their day. You know, so
yes, that's a great thing.
It's definitely an inside job as well as an outside job. Yeah.
Oh, thank you. That was really interesting. This is a really beautifully written book, and it's got some really lovely evocative language. And I just wondered, does the process of writing come easily to you?
So this book I actually found very difficult to write. There were definitely moments where things would flow really well, and I felt like I was in a state of flow and I could just write, and it just came naturally. But, you know, with a deadline, of course, when you're writing a book, it can be tough when you feel like you have to, and a baby, you feel like you have to finish things. But, you know, with cooking and with writing recipes, I guess I had become really comfortable with that. And even now, I feel like I can just write a recipe really easily. I find it very, very easy to do. But with this book, it was definitely out of my comfort zone. So I definitely had to, really... And once again, it's just practice, right? So the more you do it, the easier it becomes. But I really enjoyed writing because it was a good time for me to grow and expand in what I was doing. So and despite being hard, I just kind of pushed through it.
Well, it is. It's really beautifully written. I really enjoyed the language in it as well.
Oh, thank you.
Yeah. And I was thinking that, you know, sometimes with the best will in the world, we start to cut back, but things start to creep back on. You start saying yes to... Are you good at saying no to things, by the way?
I've learned to be good at saying no to things. I definitely go through moments where, like, I might have opportunities and things sort of coming my way, and I like to say yes to everything and keep everyone happy, but I've definitely become better at having boundaries, for sure. And also being really aware of who I spend time with and whether those people are draining or, you know, if they're bringing me down, or, you know, it doesn't necessarily mean you have to stop being friends with that person or stop, you know, spending time with that person, but just being aware of that and, just being aware of, you know, the people that you spend time with and whether they make you feel good and if they kind of lift you up as well.
Yeah. Which pretty much asks the question that, you know, if things start to creep in, but you've really just got to be realistic about it. Yeah. And you know, since we are at a book festival, I just wondered, do you like to read? Actually, do you like to? You know, that is one of the things that fits into the.
Absolutely. Well, so cookbooks, of course. Love reading cookbooks.
Yeah, legislators sound lovely. But what else do you read for pure pleasure?
My favourite genre of books to read is actually sort of romance novels, but kind of based in Italy. I have this romantic dream about living in Italy, or living in, you know, travelling Europe and just cooking and eating, and so there's a New Zealand author, Nikki Pellegrino, who I love. I've read all of her books.
She's been here.
I do like those kind of easy reads sometimes because they're just a nice way to unwind and kind of switch off at the end of the day. So I definitely tend to pick up those sort of style of books. Especially if they talk about food in the book as well.
Yeah. Have you read Sarah Kate Lynch?
No, I haven't.
Oh, you should try her.
Okay.
Sarah Kate Lynch is also romantic with lots of yummy food and set in yummy places.
Okay.
Yeah, they're a great sort of holiday read.
Oh, thank you. I'll definitely check that out. If anyone has any recommendations, I'd love to hear them.
You know, as I was sort of researching about you, and it was just such an amazing growth in your career, you know, that it was, you mentioned it before, but it was 10,000 followers in the first month on your Facebook page, wasn't it? Mm-hmm. Yeah. Can I ask you, how many have you got now?
On my Facebook, I think it's about 50,000. 52. Thanks, Julia. And Instagram, about 34,000. I sort of spend most of my time posting on Instagram now because that's just where I find I'm getting most engagement. I guess, once again, it's simpler for people to look at. Instagram is just easy. You just scroll through, you know. So I do spend quite a bit of time probably posting on there, yeah. But then, once again, it's one of those things I've had to set a boundary with, you know. Social media. Yeah. I have a love-hate relationship with social media. I think most of us probably do if we're spending time on there. Yeah.
And you mentioned in a blog post the being super clear on the why behind your work is essential to enjoying it.
Yeah.
So I guess that's a whole big what values thing? What is the why behind your work?
I think the why for me is ultimately like what I'm sharing. I want it to be really adding value to people. So I really want it to, whatever it is that I'm putting out there, I want it to help people and to make them feel good. So, most of it is my own personal experiences, of course. So things that I've done personally that have made me feel really good, whether that's like food or cooking or just sort of daily things that you can do to kind of bring your life back into balance. But I think at the end of the day, that's what really drives me. It's just creating value for people, for sure.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, that's a lovely thing to do, isn't it?
Yeah.
And I wondered, do you have an overall plan or vision? Like things seem to grow kind of organically and serendipitously a little bit. And you go from the blogging to the recipe books to the cafe, more books, and your essential oil business, which we'll get to see. But do you have a plan or an overall vision for your career or that side of your...
What's interesting is I'm kind of going through the season in my life at the moment where it's been a big growth season for me. So for the last year, this is actually one of the first, I got invited to speak at one of these events last year. I think it was last year or the year before for the Marlborough Book Festival, and I turned it down because the thought of public speaking just completely put me into a tailspin. But for me, the last kind of year and a half, I've really been working through that and, getting out of my comfort zone and actually just wanting to, do more of these kind of speaking events and just meeting people and connecting with people in real life. And for me, that's been an incredible experience that's really helped me, and that's actually something that I'd really love to focus on in the next coming years. So possibly, of course, I'm still going to write about food and health and wellness, but I would really love to share some of my own personal tools that I've used to kind of work through my own limiting beliefs and the things that have been holding me back in my life. And I would love to share some of those with my readers in case that resonated with them. So
yeah, I'm sure it will.
That's definitely something that I'm wanting to do more of.
Is that then possibly going to be? Is there going to be another book?
Yeah, so I'm talking with my publisher at the moment about the next one, and it's sort of, I put out a post a couple of weeks ago to see what my readers wanted, and, it was half-half between like another cookbook, which was like really, really simple recipes, like kind of like 10-minute meals, but like still beautiful, healthy meals, but that don't take long to make. And then the other idea was, more of a lifestyle guide, something similar to The Art of Simple, but kind of like little everyday life hacks to make your life easier, basically. And it was kind of, the response was really a blend of the two, and people said, can't you just, put both of them together? So so maybe something along those lines. Yeah, I'm not sure yet, but I'm definitely going to start working on something soon, another book, yeah.
Great. Well, it's about 10:02, so I'll just open it up for any questions from the audience for Eleanor. Does anyone have a question they would like to ask?
Do you have any tactics for backing up your no? Like I'm working on the saying no thing.
Yeah.
I always feel like I need to excuse myself.
Yeah.
Like, I'm really busy doing something else. But then
Yeah.
kind of
You can't be apologetic. Like, you just have to be like, oh, I'm sorry. Oh, I was about to say I'm sorry, but, I've just got this other stuff happening at the moment, and, you can't feel guilty about it. I think it's also the guilt. Like, you have to take the guilt out of it, for sure. Yeah.
so it's just practice.
Yeah, practice. Yeah.
Can you tell us a bit more about the essential oils?
Yeah, totally. So that's something I never thought that I would do. If anyone has heard of doTERRA, it's a network marketing company. And I've always thought of network marketing as kind of this yucky network marketing, But I just went along to a workshop, and at that time in my life actually really needed them. So I'd been in a couple of car crashes and had some head injuries. And a friend of mine said, oh, you've got to try frankincense essential oil. It's really good for, helping with anything neurological going on. So I started using frankincense and just loved it. And so naturally I just, wanted to learn more and learn more about them, and started going to more workshops. And then one day I just sort of felt this calling, like, you've got to do this. Like, you've got to start doing workshops and meet people and share what you've experienced. So I started doing that, and actually, that's probably why I'm even sitting here today, because it just really helped me to build that confidence and know that, if I don't I have to get over myself, I have to get over my own sort of silly fears, and actually, unless I do that, I'm not actually able to help people. So, I love it. I love the company. The company's amazing. They kind of align with all of my values in terms of a product or in what they're doing. So, loved meeting people too. It's been a really beautiful way to connect with people as well. So I feel like it just sort of really fits beautifully with everything else that I'm doing. Yeah.
And so you have a lot of recipes in the Art of Simple and homemade for your household cleaning and your own skincare using essential oils, don't you?
Yeah, absolutely. And I have actually been using them for a long time. Like back when I started the blog, I was using essential oils, but I didn't know about the amazing therapeutic benefits that they can have for us. So I really just thought it was sort of a pretty smell that I would just chuck in at the last minute kind of thing. But now that I've delved into my journey and learned a lot more, I just couldn't live without them. They've really, once again, they sort of have totally simplified everything in our home, so from first aid to sort of our medical cabinet to cleaning, beauty products. I use the essential oils for all of those things. So, and just for daily rituals as well, like the ritual of using your own homemade beautiful essential oil perfume is just, it's stunning. I love being able to do that. Like I was just putting them on in the room before I came in here to kind of calm my nerves. So, there's just, so many uses for them. So, love them.
Anybody else?
How do you organise your pantry? Everything on hand so I can make everything at home. I'm building as well, so trying to dream.
I love to have everything in jars. So I love to buy in bulk, especially dry ingredients. And for me, it's really about, and this is sort of my new book, Homemade, really talks a lot about this. So it's having the really basic homemade things that you can have in your pantry as well, that you can just add to food really easily for quick flavour. So things like flavoured salts and what else? So just all in jars. Yeah, and I don't have labels on them because I know personally what's in there, and I'm the only one that cooks in my household really, so I don't need to worry about that. So just in jars. Everything's in jars. I try to minimise plastic as much as I can, of course. So, buying in bulk and using jars. Yeah. Does that sort of answer? Yeah. Awesome.
Anybody else?
At the beginning of the session, you said that you wanted to be part of the community, so you formed your cafe Mondays.
Yeah.
And then you gave it up. So how did you achieve being part of a community now, apart from your essential oil? People obviously you're involved with, so you're obviously at home a lot.
Yeah.
How do you be part of the community that you're in now?
Yeah, so of course the essential oil workshops, I do them weekly, so I meet a lot of women that way. But I've also been doing just a lot more, even cooking events and things like that as well. So, yeah.
There's a question here.
So is minimising waste part of your ethos?
Yes, absolutely. And that really ties in with, making a lot of your own things as well. I hate the idea of buying a plastic spray bottle from the supermarket and then it goes into the recycling, which isn't even recycled at the moment, is it? So, it really all ties in, but definitely minimising waste, and especially when it comes to food. I only like to buy kind of what we need. So even in terms of the pantry as well, I've actually got quite a minimal pantry. I don't have a huge amount of stuff in there because I like to know that I'm actually going to use everything. And so I definitely do have just those basics that I kind of keep going back to. Just only buying what I need, and especially at the end of the week when I kind of get to the end of the week before about to do some more shopping or go to the farmer's market or what have you. I love just, getting really experimental with all the random leftover stuff that we have. And that's often when I end up cooking the most delicious meal because it's been really inventive, Yeah.
Anybody else? Yeah, go.
Do you have a tip for how to get your kids to start eating food that are mixed, rather than segmenting them?
Yeah. That's really interesting, actually, because I sort of did that a lot with Bella, my daughter, the one that had the health issues, and she's still a very picky eater. Whereas Obi, my son, and that when we started feeding him food, that was when I kind of started writing the food blog, and right from the beginning, he just kind of ate everything that we ate. We never really made a point of cooking separately for them, making sort of a kid-friendly version, if you know what I mean, and separating things. Yeah.
My son eats everything.
Yeah.
Just that slightly more kid-friendly approach.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, I would just be like...
So you just simplify the kid, Stephanie. That's good.
I would just be like, this is what we're all eating. We're all going to eat it. If you don't eat it, then tough, kind of thing. And eventually, after a while, they'll be like, oh, she's not going to do a special version for me, so I'm hungry. I'm going to have to eat it. Yeah. And boundaries. And that's what I say to Bella as well, our daughter. Like, sometimes she just won't really eat as much as everyone else. My son I can't believe how much food he eats. And he'll just eat everything I put in front of him. And so it's been different, so interesting to see the difference between them, And it was entirely because of what I had done, not necessarily them, I had created those habits in the beginning, yeah. Yeah.
Your husband's also got his own business as well, hasn't he?
Yeah.
Well, you can say what your husband's...
Yeah, a menswear clothing brand. It's called I Love Ugly.
So I imagine has had a pretty busy time of it as well. Did he embrace simple as well?
Yes, so he's very good at having boundaries. So actually he's been the one that's been able to teach me, like you've got to switch off from work. And he's very good at that, which is amazing. I struggle with the amount of, obviously having a clothing brand, I struggle with the amount of shoes and clothes and things that he has.
Oh, I was just going to ask you, is his fashion, has he also got just a minimal wardrobe?
Yeah. So like I have my tiny wardrobe with 15 items, and I think I counted last year just for a laugh, and he has a totally different wardrobe which has like 75 jackets in it. So that's just one thing I have to let go,
He's like, honey, it's for my business, I've got to do it.
Yeah. He said he's collecting them for our kids, like for our sons when they grow up. Yeah.
Nice.
Yeah.
Are there any more questions from the floor? Oh, yeah.
I have a question with simplifying your clutter with kids. Like,
Yeah.
two children, I don't buy them a lot, but hand-me-downs from cousins. We just have plastic all through the house.
Yeah.
They're all hand-me-downs, but I still don't know how to say, probably not say no, don't give us any more, but you
Yeah.
make lots of things with kids, and I just don't know how to
Yeah.
remove them or
I think firstly, like not having the guilt of like if you need to give something away. So, they've clearly done it to you, right? They've given things to you because they don't want it anymore. So for you, don't feel guilty about giving it to the op shop if you don't want it. But also what's really good is, with kids, like I find, it's a nice idea being minimal with kids, especially when it comes to toys and things. But at the end of the day, like they still need something to play with, right? But kids, I find that with my kids anyway, they've gotten... they don't even tend to play with anything when there's too many toys. Like, they just don't even look at them and they're like, Mum, I'm bored, because they get overwhelmed by all the toys. So what I found is really helpful is actually rotating them. So, like, having only a small selection of toys out and kind of having them in their sets or whatever, so blocks and board games, whatever. And, just bringing out one thing at a time, and they're like, oh, yeah, I'll play with that. And then kind of just rotating them, like even putting things away for 6 months and then switching them out, and it's quite a good little thing to do.
Oh, that's a great idea.
Yeah.
Right, I think we're at the end of our time now. But I just want to say, at the end of the book, you say, I've found an entirely new way to live, one that's filled with balance, happiness, and simplicity. And I found this book has really made me think a lot about how I would like to live in the world, and has offered such really beautiful and simple ideas for achieving a more balanced lifestyle, and in such a beautiful format. The book itself is simple and beautiful, and it's lovely. So thank you so much for sharing your thoughts and experiences with us today. And so please just join me in giving Eleanor a heartfelt thank you.